Hmm. Hello. Hey, Lispy. Hey, everyone. What a coincidence. I was just watching some episodes of Confinement. Hell yeah. Didn't know people still watch that stuff. Don't worry, I'm still working on the next episode. Are you a boy or a girl? You could take your pick. I don't really care. Hey Bung, wish me luck. I got my last final exam for the semester. Right, good luck. You get Silimoglu. Sorry, I probably didn't pronounce your name right. It's 5 a.m. where I am. It's 5 a.m. where I am, Pug. Whoa. It's crazy. Gonna have to be patient, Leofitria. Yo, what's the vibe? Hey, Spectromaton. It is chill vibes. It is, probably some, substance-assisted vibes as well. But I've had a very long day. It wasn't a bad day, but it was quite long. Bung, I ate glue. What do I do? Oh, fuck. There should be a poison hotline. I can't help you. I don't want to be responsible for your death. Alright, good night, Total Tabsian. The fact that school hasn't stopped me from getting to see another stream is just good vibes all around. Heyo again, Bung. Hey. Welcome to the stream. Oh, thank you, J Ray. You sound half awake. You good, my man? Yeah, today's been a little, I don't know, I'm just a bit tired. But, you know, it's 8 p.m. now. I just wanted to chill here. Maybe I can get some caffeine in me. I think I might do that. I'll be right back. Good morning, oh yeah. Got you in the background while I finish up last minute Xmas gifts. Hell yeah, you go do that. enjoyment on the bong is wild. You are damn right. Whoa, hey, Fuzzy Guzzy, thanks for the $1. I appreciate the heck out of that. Well, now I'm glad I couldn't sleep. Oh, no worries, Frosted Scales. Welcome back to the stream. Glad to provide you the service of being awake. Whoa! Man, I love Corn Find. Thank you for the $50, Milk-san. That's super cool of you. I appreciate the hell out of that. Wow. That's a lovely Christmas gift. Bung, are you going to start discussing death again? Haha. Well, death is kind of intertwined with anything, so it could probably be interpreted that way. Maybe I won't use the word death so often, but fucking who knows. I'm probably going to forget that I said this in 10 seconds. I remember when there were like 80 people here at most. Isn't that like always the case? You know, I don't really have a problem with it, as long as like some people are there. Ugh. I joined on Fuzzy Guzzy, what the hell? It was somebody's name. That wasn't on me this time. What'd you plan on doing for the stream? I was just, you know, talking to the people in the chat. Having some little conversations, you know. Enjoying these funny little images I have on the stream. Flying through space in this little tin can. Just vibing out, you know. Don't need to do anything more than that. Bro, what time is it there, son? It's 10:30 a.m. in England, says Finn Dickinson. It is 8 p.m. basically. Where I am. Why be a simp when you can be a chimp? Reject humanity. Thank you, Green, for telling me that. Hey, Bung, can we both agree that talking about politics only leads to conflict? Yes, that is its purpose. Oh, hey, Louis Kivimaki. Bro, it has inspired me a lot. Thank you for all of your amazing work. Thank you so much for the $20, Louis or Louise. Lewis. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Am I high right now? Is this a fever dream? What is this? Well, you're not high. I mean, maybe you are high. I don't know. But trying to imply that I have some funny stuff here that I can't do on stream. But I might go ahead and do that when I feel like it. When's the next episode of Confinement? Well, it is coming soon. You'll just have to be patient. I'm just making it as I'm making it. I don't really know when it's going to come out. You know, I'm not, if you wanted to follow a content creator who was very good at organizing and estimating this kind of stuff, that's not me. Unfortunately, I just make the art. I'm a disorganized, messy artist, and that's part of my thing. I've tried to change, and I couldn't. It seems I seem to work better and happier in this sort of messy, sporadic way, and it still gets results. You know, there's evidence of that, but you must understand why I cannot answer that question. I don't know. But it's still being made. I'd let you know if I quit. But Alien is really enjoying himself. You fucking don't know it. We enjoy your company, Bung. Thank you. I know some of you do, which is why there are still people on every time I stream. You know, I know there are some people who would just come in here like, where's Confinement? And then they'll leave. That's fine. That also happens. That's allowed to happen. Any other projects you're working on? I've just been sort of like looking for new things to do and enjoy and experience. A lot of personal stuff, you know, not really like material for my channel, just aside from the main stuff, which is Confinement. Maybe I should start on a project, you know? Maybe I should think about that. Really love your confinement series. Thank you, Zage. Bung, it's happening. People are finding the Mr. Bunga channel. I'm gonna miss talking to you as much in streams. What? What is happening? That's confusing. Thank you, Chair. Confinement, very good. Thank you, Danielle. Found you 3 years ago with the Confinement series first episode and loved all the other vids ever since. Your art has definitely improved over the years, and that just shows your hard work. Much love. Thank you, Creole Z. Wow, 3 years. Don't think about that a lot, just how long I've been doing this. So I'm glad people are reminding me, you know. Can you make an MS Paint drawing? I don't even think this version of Windows has MS Paint. Bung, can you even start a Kickstarter for Confinement? I have a Patreon, because again, I can't really estimate how long it takes, so I just have these, like, I have 3 little tiers in my Patreon to sort of just help me pay my rent and food and stuff while I post various progress on there. Kind of just like they're sort of in on it. It's like they're visiting my studio and checking out my work. Recently I had to close it for a bit, but I've reopened it again. That idea. Anyway, if you're a patron, you know what I'm talking about. It's not relevant to the rest of you. It's past me bedtime. I'm gonna go to sleep. Alright, RNG, you go do that. Ever just forget what a cow is all the fucking time? Isn't that what, like, you know, the food that's made up of cows? We have to forget them. I mean, we don't have, not like we should forget them, but I mean, we always forget what cows are. Otherwise, we wouldn't be eating burgers. You know what I mean? You're my favorite YouTuber. Thank you, Lakata Pro. Do you give people your art as Xmas gifts like I do because I'm broke? I mean, yeah. It's, it's tricky because if you're just making art because you feel like you have to, then it's not going to be your favorite art. My art kind of... ideas kind of strike me, you know. I don't feel like I've come up with the ideas. I know of techniques to help creativity, but I don't feel like I'm in charge of whether or not I could do a good casual drawing, or a casual drawing that I'm satisfied with. And that's not to say that the picture is bad. It's just that I'm in a mindset where I'm not satisfied with it. Because I know how to draw even if I'm in a bad mood. But if I'm in a bad mood, I'm not going to be happy with it, no matter how good it looks. You know what I mean? It's a weird thing. That's what people mean when they say they can't draw right now. It's just that they happen to be in a mood where they're judgmental, and that's they feel like they couldn't handle that when they're drawing. So, and I do that too. I'm not trying to disparage people. I can't forget about cows. I live next to a cow farm. Well, fair enough. I didn't get my powers. I was really hoping I'd be teleporting right now. I was shaking my head. Are you talking about the conjunction? The Saturn and Jupiter's conjunction the other day? There were too many clouds for me to see it. It was fucked up. I really wanted to check that shit out. Oh, thank you, C-Disc MRX. I appreciate that. What's with the monkeys? I love them. They're so cute. I don't get to see very many non-human primates where I live. I kind of want to see more of them. They just kind of have this, like, they're closer to us than other animals, and so the differences are more entertaining and stand out more somehow. It's almost like because they're so similar to us, we're noticing more subtle differences than if, than the more obvious differences between us and like a lizard or something. So it's just, I don't know, it just makes it more appealing and more entertaining to look at them because they look more like humans. It's just funny. It's pretty funny. What are you going to do on Xmas, Bung? Well, I'm probably going to have dinner with my family when they're off work. Visit their house. Just do that. Otherwise, I don't know. It's just another day, I guess, Get my parents their gifts, get my brother his gifts. Just chill out, see where the day takes me. One Secarino. Oh, I appreciate this. Probably beat an orangutan in a fight. They seem quite short and not very muscular or agile, like apes and gorillas. In short, I could drop kick an orangutan so hard. Thank you, Bralome. Thank you for threatening the orangutans. What do you want for Christmas, Mr. Bung? I don't really want anything, I don't think. Not that I could think of right now. It's weird, when people ask me that, I always say nothing, but then, like, when it becomes more realistic that I could achieve or get something, like, if I happen to be at a store and there is something that I suddenly really like, I am almost definitely going to get it, as if I always wanted it, but it never became, it doesn't go into my head whenever someone asks, what do you want? It's weird. It's like there's all these weird barriers trying to find what you want, and then suddenly it's that time of the day and you want something really bad. And sometimes it's just obvious, like I'm hungry. But I hate it when it's nuanced. I can't. It's hard to feel out, because your thoughts aren't accurate. They're just word association mechanism, Love that you put Twitter in the description. You are epic. Thank you. I know I'm epic. Could you take on a silverback gorilla? Yeah. What, you mean in a fight? Do not dropkick the monkey. How's your health? My health is okay. I'm getting stuffy nose a lot, but that's probably about it. How are you with this corona thing? I don't think corona's got me yet. Maybe one day. Is that a pet tarantula on your wall? No, that's I'm not sure. I don't think tarantulas can climb up flat walls. No, that's just a wood carving of the Aum symbol. Which is like a Hindu Buddhist thing. It's sort of like a symbol that represents the sounds of creation, manifestation, and then destruction. It's sort of represented through the breath, you breathe in, then you go through the motion of the breath, and then it runs out, just sort of like a thought comes up, and then the thought does its thing, and then it disappears. Or like life, you're born, you live, you die. It's just kind of this constant universal rule that everything in this universe is born, lives, and then dies. And it's this constant permanent cycle, and we're part of that rule, but we're also made up of many, many things that are born, live, and then die, like thoughts and feelings and bodily sensations and experiences and pain and pleasure. All of these things are all temporary, and that's just kind of what that symbol means to me, and so I have it. Why is a tarantula in your wall? I swear to God, if there actually like is a tarantula, I would. If there actually is one, man. Do you drink tea? I actually don't drink tea, Lord T. Gorillas are not even close to their full power since they don't work out. Imagine an extremely buff gorilla charging at you on full speed. That's a funny thing. You can't convince a gorilla to work out, I don't think. Ain't that interesting? Like a gorilla just sort of naturally is, well, I mean, they're sort of like naturally built into the environment, so they just be doing the things that are required of them in their environment individually. Um, but it's humans who are just the weird ones who are like, oh, I'm self-aware. I know I can get stronger. And so they do it. Ooh. What's your favorite knickknack in your room? Got a trinket you enjoy, Bung? Can you show us? I actually have quite a few, and most of them are on my shrine. I actually very recently got a little model of the Ark of the Covenant. That's just sort of where I put my jewelry. But it's also something that I am genuinely interested in. I like reading about the Kabbalah and the Temple of Solomon, and a lot of like Jewish mysticism. But it's mostly just there to keep a bunch of stuff inside, just like a bunch of rings and bracelets. Oh hey, thank you PHP. Thank you for the 50 Filipino pesos. I'm assuming, Protomods. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Do you use PowerPoints or Excel? I used to use PowerPoint, or Movie Maker, I should say, but I used it in a PowerPoint fashion. Buff Gorilla is an SCP instance. Monkey is not temporary. Monkey is forever. I'm sorry, monkey is temporary, but that's what makes monkey beautiful. That's what makes all monkey beautiful. Ape together strong. It's me trying to explain my political views to my friends who don't talk politically. Ape together strong. That tarantula is vibing. Does it really look like a tarantula from here? Let me check the screen. Damn. Y'all are just fucking with me. When is next containment episode? Yeah. You don't get to ask that question if you can't even say the name of my show. That's gonna be another rule. Is that I mostly ignore them anyway. I bring it up every now and then just in case some people are genuinely curious but aren't unaware enough to ask. You know. What's your favorite monkey? Well, I know orangutan isn't a monkey, but orangutans are my favorite of the non-human primates. Monkey though, I don't know. Probably just capuchin. This because how often they're used in movies. I just sort of assigned this Hollywood-written personality onto these capuchins just because I haven't hung out with any other monkeys. Ain't that sad? I haven't hung out with enough monkeys to gauge their personalities. What's your favorite Warhammer 40k Chaos God? I can't tell you. I have no idea. I don't play that game or that board game, whatever it is again. Hey, Dragon Slayer. I'm not bad. My day was like long, but I still like to take long days as a sort of like, this is like a rough day at school where things are just particularly confusing and particularly difficult, and that it's all a test, you know, it's just all a test to see how how you can get through the day. Uh, and there is no failing. There is no big deal. How you get through the day is just how you get through the day. You know, you do what you got to do to get through the day. And for me, that involved taking a lot of big, deep breaths, analyzing some of my thoughts that were just popping up during the frustrations, and accepting how angry my thoughts can be. Instead of just being ashamed of it and pretending like, no, I'm actually cooler than that. I'm chill. I'm more chill. I'm way too chill to be having these thoughts. But no, actually, just accepting that you're really frustrating sometimes, you know? That things just don't work out, and that, you know, suddenly you're waiting outside of a post office of 2 hours. But I've waited longer for less. And so I sat there just ruminating on these feelings and thoughts and just learning about myself. Pygmy marmosets are best monkey because small. That's actually true. I was watching a movie with marmosets in them last night. So, you've probably just reminded me of this whole new world of monkeys that I've been ignoring. What's your favorite mythology? Mine is Norse. I've been getting really into spirituality and mythology lately. Not that those two are mutually exclusive, but there's sort of a different purpose based on, you know, which word you use to describe them. So Norse is a cool one. I have a mutual on Twitter who I talk to about the Norse gods sometimes, and how she prays to them, and what they mean, not just the Norse gods, but like all the gods. And I had this other friend describe to me that like it's almost like the gods represent an archetype, a symbol that you are trying to reach towards. You're projecting onto this being when creating the being with your mind, and you are meditating on their attributes because ultimately who you are as a person is just an accumulation of habits. So if you get into the habit of exercising these different attributes and what they mean to you, then you end up developing them over time. And I thought that was really cool when you look at it from that perspective. Because in that way, the gods are real. It's just that you can look at it from the psychological perspective of we are creating them, or you could look at it backwards, you know, but what is backwards? What is time? Blah, 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 whatever, you know. Then you look at it backwards, and it's almost like, what else are we creating in the universe anyway? If you know, you could say like, well, this is real, but the gods are made up. It's like, okay, but I mean, there's nothing objective about reality. Everything is completely just interactions between what my nervous system is experiencing and projecting into my brain and whatever is happening to it. Sound isn't objectively real, it's just vibrations, and our eardrums have evolved to translate the relevant sounds into what we know as sound. And so we hear a sound and we get triggered in certain ways, and we think that, oh, the sound is coming to us. No, we are creating the sound in our head. There is no sound in the objective world. That doesn't mean that there's silence. It just means that sound is just an idea. It's just a thing that we've evolved with, that we make real over millions of years of evolution. And you can say that for sight, taste, touch, all of these sensations that suggest that there is a universe outside of our mind. It's just as real as these gods that we create and pray to and try to become. They really are just as real as each other. Using the quote, do what you love and you won't work a day in your life. How much do you enjoy doing these awesome animations, and do you see it as a job or a fun job? You know, some days I see it as just a job, but really, I do acknowledge it as a fun job. And a lot of the times it does get fun. Well, almost always when I'm working, I find myself having fun, but I also find myself not having fun. And it's just kind of a little back and forth between the two little fun mindsets. But it's better than just having a completely terrible job, I guess. Hey, Dana, you look the same as yesterday. Very lovely. How you feeling? Thank you, Lars. I'm doing just fine. You're my favorite YouTuber. Thank you, Luke. Is Jesus real, or am I even real? Yes and no, and yes and no. Is there a confirmed vibe stream, or will there be chaos? There will be vibe on my end. It's up to y'all to reciprocate that vibe. People who don't want to reciprocate that vibe probably won't stay here long anyway, so. Can I start getting drunk? You could have done that anytime. No judgment. Why did you cancel Norse code? There were a few things in that episode that I changed as a person, and I sort of like really didn't want to contribute to something that I felt ashamed of. I'm not necessarily going to tell you what it is, but there were like jokes in there that I just wasn't really proud of, and I didn't want people to think that, well, this is normal, I should be able to say these jokes. I don't think you should. I mean, do whatever you want, but I'm not going to encourage it as a positive thing. I don't want to reinforce terrible, ignorant behavior in a positive way. You know what I mean? So, Bung, do you think a higher being exists? Like, not even gods, but just anything really, aliens, deities, more advanced civilizations. Do you think they exist, or is that just wishful escapism? It can be escapism if you want to look at it that way, but you can say that about anything that isn't currently right in front of you. You can also very equally say that because I'm not the center of the universe, neither are you, and consciousness isn't necessarily encapsulated in brains. It's more like a tower, like a frequency tower. It hones in on this thing that we call consciousness, but in reality everything in the universe has some level of consciousness. To assume that we are at the top of that chain might be quite ignorant, because in reality we are not like, we are just like really highly complicated animals. We are not better because we're complicated, or worse, we're just complicated. In reality, we still have the same amount of consciousness as every single thing in the universe. We're just more complicated about it. To assume that we're the most complicated, I don't know, maybe that is ignorant. You only answer questions on this stream? I mean, I talk about stuff too, just random shit. The vibe on this end is Christmas panic. Rip. Is Connor similar to BoJack? I can see similarities. I don't want to limit both my show and their show by saying that they're exactly the same. I think having a sad main character is not necessarily a new or innovative thing. I think how you represent, manifest, and create a narrative for that sad character is, I'm doing it very different from how BoJack is doing it. Man, a lot of people asking for this episode to come out. I already answered your questions, so I'm just going to ignore those. Hello from Germany. Hey, hello from Australia. Welcome to my stream. One question: when you are Connor, what will you even do as him? Sorry, what was the question? Is Connor going to return to Monkey in the confinement finale? That wasn't the question. One question: when you are Connor, what will you even do as him? I'm sorry, I have no idea what that question is. I don't know how to. I don't understand that question. How do you feel about publicly coming out as non-binary? It was a little uncomfortable, and for a very long time I've been thinking about it. I didn't expect as many people to care or to respond or to give attention to it, and and so when that happened, I was like, oh, okay. It's just not really that big a deal, I guess. Or maybe I'm just saying that in response to how many people, noticed. I don't know. It's because it's personal. I didn't think it was the kind of thing that would get that much attention. It's weird. I don't know. I guess I just had really different expectations. But, I mean, I wanted to come out, and I'm cool with it, you know? It's just very, very surprising. I mean, yeah, like, not to get, like, semantic about the whole thing, but I literally talk about all of reality being a construct in these streams. Like, I talk about how everything, our definition of real is so loose and so messy in reality. Of course, it only makes sense for me to come to the conclusion that, or rather, it makes sense for me that I've always had this attitude towards my gender as well. Because I have masculine qualities and I have feminine qualities, and I'm not particularly attached to either. So, you know, I guess I was worried because people were just going to, because some people have what they think non-binary means, and then, of course, there's my interpretation, and I didn't want to be associated with whatever their imagined idea of that is. And then I realized, who cares? It works for what I'm trying to say. It is literally an actual description and community of people who perfectly fit how I feel. And I shouldn't care what other people think. You know, and that sounds like the obvious noble thing to do. But when you have an identity, you kind of have to care a little bit if you get attached to your identity. And I was so detached from my identity that I just didn't think about it for so long. And I had to come to this conclusion that, okay, well, if it isn't a big deal, then you can just tell everybody you're non-binary. And I was like, oh shit, you're right. It isn't a big deal, so I should be able to do that. And so, yeah. Hey! Oh, wait, you're NB? Ah, me too. Hey, there you go. Thank you, Spectrometon, for the $2 and sharing your relatability. Can I type random letters into the chat? I would prefer it if there was maybe more sincere conversation. Do you believe in parallel universes? Yes, but probably not in the same way that you're imagining them. Although I do also believe that the multiverse theory is probable. I don't see why not. Weird things have happened. I think I would rather focus on my universe, but I think dive deep into the existentialism pool and hit the deep end pretty often in this stream. Good thing we can swim, though. It's true. And something beautiful about that analogy is that swimming is something that you can't really... I mean, you can teach certain swimming styles, but your ability to, swim in the water and not sink, that's intuitive. And this sort of existentialism, you have to learn how to travel around in your intuitive self rather than your thinking self, because thinking works like a knife. It cuts things into pieces, and it only makes sense in context of how many pieces this is. We look at a mountain and go, wow, how many miles is that up? How many how many meters is that, like, as if that matters to what reality is. And the point of spirituality is to focus on this sort of grander scheme, what it is, what it means, what it's doing, not what it's made out of necessarily, not the tiny details. And that requires being able to feel without thinking, which is really difficult to do for people who think their whole lives. Sure is an epic vibey stream. Thank you. It is hard being abstract, or realizing how abstract you are. It gets hard, but I find that it is very rewarding when you, because, people who, like myself, who have many, what society might call abnormalities, neurodivergencies, gender issues, spiritual preferences, ways of thinking, ways of living, behavior. My job is fucking weird, like everything about me is quite strange. But it forces me to take a few more steps back from this gigantic game that we call life and realize that I can control the source of it. Instead of just repeating these patterns that were set for me when I was a kid. And, we think that we're so smart, but so much of our thinking is just trying to justify the actions that we already did a second ago. Then these actions are just these cyclical patterns that that began when we were kids, Say you were rewarded for doing this, and so you keep doing it over and over again into your adulthood, and then you might argue to yourself why it was still relevant now to do that, and contextually why I should keep doing whatever this is into the future, and why it's the most logical thing, and then you pat yourself on the back for being so logical. No, it's literally we're just following these patterns, and then we reward ourselves or we punish ourselves mentally for it. But when you're forced to sit outside, when you're forced to not participate with all of the cool kids, then you kind of realize, oh, this is just a game. This is all just a game. And everything is a lot more nuanced than these extremes. If I have to do this, I shouldn't do this. Being strange is amazing. It certainly is eye-opening. He said it gets hard. Thank you, Seth Christopherson. My brother told me about confinement. I didn't expect to be watching a person in space talking about existentialism surrounded by monkey gifts about a year later. Your voice gives a chill, calm vibe feels, and it's nice. Thank you. I like talking calmly, but also I kind of need to right now because my throat is hurting a little bit, and I think it's because I actually do talk a lot, and it wears out my throat. Is your series part-time work or full-time? It's basically full-time. Bunga's not like the other girls. You know who Jack Stauber is? The name's familiar. Is he the musician that does these 2 Trucks having sex? Oh no, not 2 Trucks, but like he does mixes songs together. I feel like my mind expands listening to you talk, Boogie Boy. Thank you. Alexander Graham Bell didn't invented the phone. He stealed the patent in the patents office, but the original inventor died before the judge was made. Is that true? Oh, okay. Well, don't quote me on that, but that's just what I read. I thought it was going to be a bit more scandalous and had more details, but Would you live on Mars if given the chance? One-way trip. I think a couple of things are still keeping me on Earth. One of them being confinement. I guess I could probably finish confinement on Mars, but I feel like my desire to move to Mars isn't stronger than my desire to finish confinement. You know, maybe if I don't know, some something something happened, something happened, and I couldn't draw anymore, then I'd move to Mars and I would work as a potato farmer in this universe in which I couldn't draw anymore, but I could somehow potato farm. What is your thought on the mass production of food and the marketing that surrounds it? Well, it sounds like a good idea when you are beginning that process, pre-industrialization. Like, imagine having more food than you could possibly. But that was in a time when the world was huge, and now everything is connected, and we can very easily see how many resources we have and don't have. And we are still doing this and increasingly doing this. And now it's scary because we are going to run out of resources and we're going to act like, oh, well, it's inevitable, as if it isn't distributed, as if it's distributed properly, but it isn't. Getting sick of the streams, to be honest. Well, then leave. I'm imagining this guy just like sitting through this stream, like 3 of my streams, and he's just, when's he gonna upload? Confinement episode. Just leave. Or, I don't know, vibe out with me. There are these options. I've given you 2 great ones. You could come up with a 3rd one if you like. We could do that together if you want. Maybe that could be our conversation. Do you believe aliens are humanoid or actually are creatures humans can't actually comprehend, like the H.P. Lovecraft aliens? I have no idea. Higher beings. Well, in my world right now, I'm sort of imagining higher beings are beings that are kind of made of abstract thought. And by that I don't necessarily mean like, oh, the pure imagination of a child. I mean like the energy that it takes to genuinely believe in something, I think, creates that thing in a way that doesn't affect the physical world like some magic tool where you just spawn things, but in a more profound and more real way than what the physical world offers. I love simping for Bung. Thank you, Chill Illustrations. Sorry. Thank you for the $20. I appreciate it. Who taught the first teacher? Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, all of reality would, right? We kind of learn off each other. I mean, humans have always been around each other. Like, we're a social species. But reality, when we lived in nature, what we were learning was much more accurate and relevant and perfect. Whereas nowadays, we learn things that aren't relevant to us at all the time. And, you know, it's kind of... it's not terrible. It's not a terrible thing. It's just that a lot of it is useless information, and some of it is outdated. Some of it is just completely irrelevant. Stream so boring. Wish I could leave. Very high, very confused, but very entertained. I like the vibe here. I accidentally swallowed an ice cube earlier, and I'm still contemplating existence after that experience. Fuck, man. I feel that. I feel that too strong. I think aliens are probably going to be completely incomprehensible to humans, such as rocks that look completely non-living to our standard, but to their standard it's completely normal. Yeah, I mean, if you could think about an alien species that lives at a much faster speed than us, they would look at us like statues. In the same way we look at an actual statue and go like, well, that's never going to move. But if you sped up, then you could see that actually it falls apart and it turns into sand, and then it does a cool little dance in space, and then it becomes something else, or maybe it gets merged into heat, and then that heat becomes energy for something else, and you know, we really want it to fit into categories, but it isn't, you know? Giraffes are higher beings. Midnight sermon. designing a lot of aliens lately. It's very fun. Excited to finally use them in something that isn't just a headcanon. Hell yeah. I mean, you could also just do cute things where you draw and you stick drawings around your house. Just any reason to draw is a good reason to draw, you know? Please explain your spirituality a bit more. I've always been very atheistic, but I'm curious. Okay. Well, I'm never going to be able to explain it to you in a way that convinces you to follow this path, but obviously you are a little bit curious, so that's fun. Well, I used to be very atheistic, and at my worst I was like cynical, you know, terrible, angry, and I thought that was normal because I wasn't aware of myself. Until I experienced something just beyond my comprehension, and it sort of unraveled these categories that I thought were so real that I can talk about in a philosophy class and people be like, yeah, I get it, nothing's real technically, you know, but it's something else when you end up there. It's something else when you end up disappearing. When this entire sense of self just vanishes, it's so something else, and it got me thinking. Well, it got me searching, and it got me realizing that, how do I put this? Not to sound like Dirk Gently, but like everything is connected. Every single thing is everything is affected by everything. So one thing that I do here will create a butterfly effect that'll eventually have its weight in something else. And time doesn't really matter. We think that, you know, because we're humans and 100 years is a big deal. That doesn't really matter. We're not inherently more important than anything else in the universe. So with a little bit of time, everything has interacted with each other. Everything has transformed into something else. Everything lives, dies, and repeats. So with my spirituality is truly and deeply understanding this Taoist viewpoint, or this Zen viewpoint, and understanding and honoring the fact that there is so much more to reality than just talking about it or imagining it, or because these minds, as complex and amazing as they are, they only hold its job is only to preserve itself, and so it always has a limited mindset. And categorization is something completely unnatural that we have created for production of things, you know, like let's take a rock and a tree. These two things at some point in history weren't separate things. It was just, you know? And when we needed to start making spears, we started separating these things and say, well, that we need that so that we can have a branch for the length of the spear, and we needed that rock so that we can make the pointy bit at the end of the spear, and we need that twine for what, you know, like we only start categorizing things in relevance to us, in relevance to how useful it is to us, in comparison to us, how safe it is, how dangerous it is, how useful it is, how useless it is. And so reality is created with this human blueprint, and everything is just in context to us. And spirituality kind of deconstructs that. It helps you remember that actually behind all of these, thank you for the 25 pesos, Protomods, again, thank you for the donation. So everything is so deeply biased and deeply unreal and fake. And that traps us. It traps us in these cycles of mundanity and boredom and stress and self-hatred and overworking, and it validates so much violence and oppression and subjugation to oppression. And you begin to forget that you can actually achieve everything that you ever wanted without any physical materials with you. So like when you fall in love with somebody and then, you break up and it's real bad, and so you're thinking about them for such a long period of time because you think you can only feel that feeling of love again through them. But in reality, that feeling is generated in you. You can achieve that feeling at any point if you really concentrate. If you really try and concentrate your mind, you can reignite those feelings. It doesn't have to be exactly with the same person, because that's just a distraction. It's just an idea that you need to be with somebody to feel love, or that this person has the magic love aura that I need to be around or something. No, all of these things are here, presently, everywhere, These feelings are everywhere, these thoughts are everywhere. It's not just a strict set of rules for how to achieve things, because in a world where everything can be determined, there has to also be things that aren't determinable. Because otherwise you don't have any context for what determinable is, you know what I mean? So, what does this mean? It means that even if you are materialistic and only believe in physical evidence, you have to also accept that miracles have to also exist for things to also be mundane and boring and normal, because otherwise you don't know what mundane and normal is. Arunde Creole 2, the second. Thank you for the $10. What if the universe is just a massive black hole and slowly reality is ripped from us piece by piece? Well, in a way that's true, because everything has to end anyway. I kind of thought that's what it was. It was like there's a black hole at the center of everything, and everything is kind of in a spiral. Whether it's moving outwards or inwards is kind of arbitrary, because what relative point in space are we talking about? Whoa, thank you for the CHF. I don't know what that is. Hey, Clepperelli. Hey fam, long time no see. Ever thought about how our brain is constantly hallucinating a continuous image from choppy and unreliable input, and that's how we see? Pretty wacky. Yeah, I think about that a lot. Sometimes I think about that while I'm walking, and I freak out a little bit. Because it feels surreal when I'm walking, but sometimes it feels like a dream. And I notice that there's a difference in these feelings, and I notice that my perception of reality is actually quite fluid. Like, if I stay still long enough and I'm just staring at whatever, it begins to wobble, and it's just naturally part of my life now. I've calmed myself down, and I've been so much less preoccupied with stress and worrying and anxiety and all of these things that I think are real, all of these things that I think are important about reality or whatever. I've been emptying my mind so much that I'm beginning to see that things are kind of more fluid, in like every literal sense of the word. Things are kind of wobbly. Things are kind of fun. Like it's almost like, if you want to put it this way, like the simulation is kind of maybe not breaking down, but like, because I'm aware of it not being as real as as literal as my mind is interpreting it to be, it's just kind of wobbling and having fun. If that makes sense. Why the fuck does the universe exist, Lamau? Okay, well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then I'll come back and answer that question. I'm also probably gonna do some funny little yeah, So, I'm going to use this bowl to represent what Zen Buddhists and Tibetan Buddhists use to represent the truest essence of this, reality, whatever you want to call it, universe, or the waking world, or whatever. So, they like to use this to represent that because when we use words to describe the universe, you aren't describing the universe, it's like taking a photo of something and saying that this photo is more real than the thing you took a photo of. That's what language is. It's just bad photos. Or rather, it's restrictive photos, you know? Like when you take a photo of something, it's just one specific angle of it. It's not the whole thing. It's just one angle of it. So, what was I saying? Okay, so all of this that you're experiencing, we won't give it a name, just that. All of this is neither existing or non-existing. Those are just ideas. Existence and non-existence are just ideas. Remember that. Now, existence and non-existence cannot exist mutually exclusive from each other. Things live and die every millisecond. Things are born and things die all the time, whether that be people, animals, plants, fucking rocks, ideas, beliefs, feelings, thoughts, everything, you know, all the way down to the tiniest movements of atoms in reality. These things are constantly happening, and they can only happen in context to each other. Things can only exist if things also don't exist. These two things have to coexist, for lack of a better fucking word, because language is terrible. Existence and non-existence, in general, they're, you know, like we automatically just look around at everything and say this exists. And then something disappears and we make such a big deal out of it, naturally, because we don't like when things non-exist. But we can only experience and appreciate existence if non-existence also exists. Also happens. Right? So this shit. This shit. The answer, why does the universe... Oh, almost sneezed. Why does the universe exist? It just does. It has to. It also doesn't exist. Because it has to. These two things... But the universe is made up of much more than just its existence and non-existence. It's made up of light and this thing, this lack of light that we call darkness. Those two need to coexist as well. And, you know, heat... and the absence of heat that we call cold, these two need to coexist as well. So, apply that to literally everything you can think of in existence. The fact that reality, or it just is. And this is not me trying to stop the question, it's just that the question isn't a good question. It's a question that we, as humans, have a tendency to ask, but not for good reason. You know, we aren't actually getting anything out of this question. Why does everything exist? This is where you fill in your answer, whatever you want it to be. I like your nails. Thank you, Hayden. Gotta go, I'm going on my first date with my boyfriend. Hey, good luck, Jamie. Are you actually a furry, or was that a joke? Brackets, I won't hate you, by the way. I'm glad you won't hate me. I'm not a furry. I'm not sure who... I don't even remember if I joked about being a furry, but... Have you been smoking weed? No, but I can. I have one packed right there. I mean, I never even heard of that stuff. Well, thank you, Skull Dude. Appreciate it. You're both high and not high. Yeah, well, you can only appreciate getting high if you be sober sometimes. You know what I mean? That's why, you know, addicts get burnt out and depressed, because they're not spending enough time being sober to appreciate being high. And it's up to you how much time you want to spend on either. It's all personal. Go back to Walmart snack aisle, stoner. Thanks. Okay, awesome, great. Like, people ask me questions on this stream and this happens. I'm getting cyberbullied. Can't believe it. r/shower thoughts. Seems like you've somewhat become the Nietzschean Übermensch, as warped as that word is nowadays, where you accept the death of God and then create your own moral framework. Neat. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I am creating and discovering in equal parts. I am creating and discovering what I perceive to be my true reality. And that does involve accepting that this idea that things happen to me on the one hand, and me doing things on the other, are not mutually separate things. Like I was saying earlier about existence and non-existence and heat and cold and dark and light. This idea, and it is just an idea, that I am doing things or that things are happening to me. These two things are not separate. These are actually the same thing. They're just different degrees to which one is happening. You know, determinism versus chance. These two both coexist. The only difference between them is the degree to which determinism exists, you know. I didn't know you smoked. Yeah, sometimes. If you ask too often why you exist, you lose track on just existing. Exactly. Because existing is you just doing shit. You can question why you exist, but then you'll end up in that place where it's like, where am I? And that's why people freak out, because we are afraid of death. And when we question why we exist, we end up in this place where we're behind our body and we're in this realm of non-existence mentally. And it's like, oh, that's scary, I don't want to be there. And then you come back and it's I mean, it's fine to question why you exist. Yo, dude, have a good stream and a good holiday. Rock on, bong, dude. Thank you, prof. Have you ever been approached by production companies or labels? You should contact Netflix or Adult Swim or other studios. I don't really want to do that. I like where I'm at. I like making my content for free. Like, well, you're able to see it for free. I like being paid to make my content, I should say. But, yeah. Alright, goodbye, Brian. Have you tried DMT? No, I'm not ready for that. It's a bit too much. Is that an orangutan or a chimp? I think these are all orangutans. Except for that dog. What is your heritage? My mom is Filipino, Japanese, and my dad is a white Australian, German-ish man. He's like German in heritage, but not much in culture. So I just have this white dad with a German last name who has no, and we don't, and the family doesn't have any connection to Germany. But my mom is more Filipino, so I end up getting some of her culture as well. Just, you know, through osmosis, things that I do or do not realize are part of her culture. And, of course, the many things that are just uniquely me, I guess. The power of fictionality? Fictionality. Do you mean fictionality? It's a term used in various fields within and beyond literary theory, from speech act theory, the theory of fictional words, to theories of as if. It's often equated with the genre of the novel. I still don't know what fictionality is from reading that. Sorry. Sleep, mate. It's 6. It's actually 9 p.m. for me. You can sleep if you like, but I'm not tired. I'm not gonna go to sleep at 9 p.m. Seeing as it's Christmas Day here, Merry Christmas. Whoa, hey, Merry Christmas, Das Potato. Yes, Skull Dude 1083, I did voice Alan Turing that one time. Do you still know how to talk Filipino? No, I used to when I was a kid. I spoke Tagalog, and then my dad was worried that I wouldn't learn English as well if I was bilingual. So, I don't know. Yeah, I appreciate it. He was just trying to make sure that I get school done. But it seems maybe he didn't underestimate me. Maybe I genuinely wouldn't have been able to learn 2 languages. You know, maybe I'm just stupid. That's fine. Do you think it's a viable future to store our thought in a computer? If so, what can the implications be? Well, this is a fun one. Now, all of life, all of biological life, as far as we can tell, on planet Earth, is entirely defined, again, just like the concept of existence, non-existence that I was talking about earlier. It's defined by the fact that we die. And uploading yourself into a computer, obviously the implication is that you live forever in there and you can do whatever you want. Now, if we do end up uploading everything onto some big computer and we live forever, we are not going to be able to live in a way where we think we live forever, because otherwise we wouldn't develop everything that results in our personalities, and therefore we won't be able to enjoy things because there's nothing to fear. We won't be creative because we'll never be bored, and we won't be happy because we'll never be unhappy. So if we end up going into a simulation, we would logically have to go into one where we think we can die. And then you know where this is going. What if we're in one right now? I haven't died yet, so I can't prove that, like... And then essentially your atoms recycle and time dissipates and you end up in a different part of the universe playing a different thing, like a rock or a plant, or maybe it's scattered to different areas. Maybe your body is scattered into a bunch of different things when it dies, and then those different things end up contributing to all sorts of whatevers. In which case, it's really no different from reality. Your consciousness is something that is separate from, that sits behind all of the physical reality that you are experiencing. So, let me put it this way. When you think, and that is to say, when you hear the voice in your head that is talking, are you the voice in your head? No, you are listening to the voice in your head. You can't be the voice, you are listening to the voice. And so this voice creates this image of an individual, of a thinker. It creates this thing that must surely be producing the thinking, but it isn't. It isn't producing anything. It's this idea of yourself as being created by the thought that you are listening to. Thoughts are just there. Thoughts are just things out there in the universe. you know? They don't necessarily make sense unless you want them to. You know, we find connections based on our culture and based on our history. But you are not your thoughts because you're listening to your thoughts. So what are you that's listening? And, you know, we call it consciousness. This consciousness is something that we couldn't physically find. So, you know, does that make sense? Yeah. This is pro-Matrix propaganda. Spung thinking about the ending of Soma, what's happening. That is a really good game that delves into what consciousness is. You know, you can tear apart your body, you can separate everything physical from what makes you a human being, but then you still have this thing that is listening, that is looking, that is experiencing what your nerves and your brain are filtering. You know, your brain isn't who you are, your brain is a filter. And everything is being experienced by this thing we call consciousness that's behind everything. You know, you say like, I am listening to my thoughts right now. Well, you are, but that was just words. You are listening to those words, but those words aren't you, you know. When you are immortal, you aren't living forever, you're dying forever. Eventually you run out of things to do or lose the drive to do what you thought you wanted. Death is inevitable and necessary. It's true, but then there's always this fun Hindu theory that everything is just in the mind of a sleeping god, and it fits so perfectly with this idea of a simulation, you know, like history kind of just, like technology is just an extension of human habits and creativity, so it makes sense that we'd come up with an idea like a simulation, and it just so happens to be parallel with all these ancient ideas. Yeah. And this idea is that a god who can do everything, be anything, live forever, do whatever, has everything, total free will, gets so bored that he imagines himself to be a limited person who is born, suffers, has all of these limitations, and therefore has all of these pleasures because of these limitations, and then dies. And then he imagines, you know, being born into something else, like a crab, being born into something else like a rock, and then repeating over and over again with everything in the universe, kind of like that egg story, like the egg, you know, where he just reincarnates through every single thing in the known reality. And then he wakes up and he's like, holy shit. Wow, that was exciting, you know? And then it just keeps going back and forth, you know, when he gets too bored, having too much fun. Thank you, Paxi. Are we parasites then? No, we're not parasites. We're part of this universe. We aren't separate from this universe. You could say we are parasites just as much as we are the thing that the parasite is sucking off. We are being fucked just as much as we're fucking the thing. We are imposing as much will on reality as reality is letting us. It's all just this balance, and nothing is actually separate from each other. These are just words. And of course, I'm not going to sit here and just intuitively feel vibes towards you, and you'll get what I mean when I say that. I have to use words to describe this. But yeah. Congrats on 1 million. Oh shit, did I get 1 million already? Let me check that out. Oh, no, I haven't. Alright, you tricked me. I like to think that I'm just staying dumb and stop discovering truth as it keeps hurting oneself more and more to the point where one is becoming scared of everything around oneself. I don't really know what you're saying, but it sounds sad, and I'm sorry to hear that. I used to think that I had the world sussed, but then I realized that I don't have the emotional complexity to understand some concepts. It's not that you... It's not some inherent thing, it's just experience, you know? Like, if you want to have a more profoundly rich life, You just have to pay more attention to what you're already doing. You don't have to do anything different from what you were doing. You just have to pay attention to it. And naturally, you'll end up being drawn towards things, and you might not have any logical reason for that, or you might, you know. And but because you're paying attention to it, you end up seeing way more things that you didn't see. You actually end up training your mind to learn again, instead of just, I've learned everything now. I can close off my mind and just plow through reality into my into retirement. You know what I mean? Like, that's the attitude that we're supposed to take as adults, as smart adults. We know everything already. You can just, come off it, get off that act, fuck that, and then just listen and look, pay attention, take in everything around you instead of just imposing your will onto reality. And this way you stay humble, you learn acceptance and patience, you end up having a deep appreciation for everything that you used to think was boring and mundane in life. Isn't that like a symbiotic relationship? Yeah, I mean, we live in a realm in which everything is just one thing, but it also at the same time is a bunch of different things, because we have imposed that reality through our human need to categorize things. So, a symbiotic relationship is something that can be used as a good example for how everything is to each other. There is no better or worse thing in the universe. There is just all of these different things with different sizes and different temperatures and different whatever. But it's almost more like those boards that have like a bunch of pixels, and it's like every known color in the color spectrum. And so you have some parts of the board like red, and then it kind of, you move around, it's like a bit purple and then blue, and then it's more like that, except that we've drawn lines. We as humans, all of reality is like this big, colorful, kind of smudgy, nuanced thing, made up of all the colors of the color spectrum. And then we humans, we draw lines and say, well, that's cyan, that's teal, that's aqua, Yeah, but it's not reality. That's just sort of like a way to experience reality if you want. But it's not necessarily a healthy place. Would you rather be ignorant or all-knowing? I'd rather be happy, personally. That does involve some ignorance, but it also does involve being aware. Above all, it has to do with just accepting who you are. Moss is an apex predator. Thank you for the $5, Paragon123. How far have you gotten with confinement? It's gone quite well. Did some more work on the storyboard yesterday. I really enjoy doing the storyboard because that's where I come up with a bunch of like cartoon slapstick ideas that I want to see if they work out contextually in the environments that I've drawn already. And so the storyboards really help with that, just sort of testing out jokes. Yeah, I did Skull Dude. Ever heard of a series called Interface by Umami? It's something I think you would enjoy a lot. I really do enjoy it. Yeah, I've seen it. Are you high? Not yet. Not yet. Is there a limit to our learning abilities? I know that there is a physical limit due to our brains being a biological hard drive that deteriorates over time, but is our consciousness also limited? Our consciousness isn't limited, our brain is. The brain cannot understand the consciousness fully, but that is by design, you see, because the brain is just a filter for how consciousness is experienced. So let's say I'm some super cosmic conscious being, and I can't even say I'm because I don't have an identity. It's just, let's just say, you know, uh, and then I'm just like, oh, I want to experience what it's like to be a human, and so I get given a brain, and this brain lets me experience reality in a very, very specific way. Um, but this allows, something special about being a human is that it allows me to be self-aware, which means that I can make very radical decisions in my life, and I could break from my natural path, and I could go into all sorts of paths and think that they are real and genuine and true, and I could believe in these different ways and these different levels of intensities of belief and emotions, and it's basically a more powerful creature than most creatures on Earth. So I choose to experience that. But it is still, by design, it is limited compared to universal consciousness. So, yeah, to be a human is to... I mean, humans are remarkable at being able to get attuned with just universal consciousness. Like, there are some humans that end up in religious law because they were able to crack universal consciousness. The Buddha, Jesus, Ramana Maharshi, Ramdas, all sorts of people who have just gently found their way to this realization, and they literally can't even see people as separate people. They see them all as this just big, beautiful, natural thing that's happening out there. They're so disconnected from it, and they're just full of love and happiness and wisdom, and it's great. Thank you, Louis DB. Bung is a cosmic being. Oh. What is your age? I am 25. Are we all just individual channels of a single consciousness? Yeah, absolutely. And that's not to say that we are somehow lesser than the overall consciousness. We are also equally that overall consciousness. Like, I am just as much me as I am you, as I am us, as I am every single being on the planet. I am literally equally just as much me. Just because this is a focal point of my consciousness, so I identify with this the most, right? Because my eyes are here, my ears are here, my mouth is here. And so I'm like, well, it's here, obviously. It's somewhere around here. That's where it is, right? But the idea of me and you is just an idea. It's an idea that is built upon this idea of distance and space and self-importance and determination. But those are also ideas. These are all just thoughts, and our brain has been tricking us into thinking that they're real for our entire life and our culture's entire history. But in reality, I'm just as much me as I am you and us and every single person on the planet. I am equally all of that, and you are equally all of that. It's just that, language is just proof of how fucking deeply ingrained this way of thinking is into our mind. So I can't talk about it without saying me or you, or, you know what I mean. Why is the silence so loud? Now that sounds really cryptic. I don't know, I like the silence. It's important. Kind of bring up the topic of recreational medicinal herbs. I'm assuming you're like the grand sage of such things. Do they ever help with creativity and productivity? Thanks. Well, many people will say yes. But it's entirely personal. It's entirely subjective. And it's not just like a magic thing, like you smoke and then suddenly you want to do art. Although that does happen a lot. You also have to just kind of be in the mood for art anyway. you know? So if you happen to be in the mood for art and you have it just lying around, go ahead. I don't see what the problem is. But there's also the chance that it'll just make you tired and sleepy and you'll go to sleep. and maybe you could blame the strain, or maybe it's some genetic thing. But I've been sharing a lot with people, my funny green stuff, and it's been providing a bunch of different results. It's very interesting. Do you believe AI can achieve consciousness? Well, yes, it can, but I also believe that every single thing in the universe already has consciousness. So if you mean consciousness by our standard, by our level of complexity, then I don't know. Because we don't even understand the human brain fully, so how can we replicate it? No, we just have, all we have are the symptoms of the human brain. We have our behaviors, our attitudes, our thoughts, our feelings, whatever. Those are just the symptoms of us. We don't know what the source is, and I'm trying to explain that the source is consciousness, which is already there and is basically a black hole of reality. Well, I mean, a black hole is a black hole of reality, but it's basically like a black hole inside of you that receives everything. It's like it's the thing that's sucking everything in, and the brain filters it through and converts it into this wonderful thing that we call life. This makes me think of the eggs, the short story. Yeah, that's also something I mentioned earlier. It's something I really like. That's true, clockwise coin. Thank you for the 1 CHF, the real Oscar. When's the new episode dropping? Last time I saw an episode, I was in high school. Damn. I don't know. Already answered this question earlier, and it's still I don't know. So all in my room. Seriously, it's all in my room. It's nice to be nice and sound like it's so loud. Thanks for the chill stream. Glad to see you doing well. Thank you, Club Rally. Hope you're doing well too. I mean, it sounds like you are. I hope you have a good day. Are those your orangutans? I fucking wish. God, I wish. I was only asking since I always wanted to try using them for motivation, since I hella like that, but also if you're found with even a gram, you can get 30 years of jail time. Welcome to Ireland. Yeah, it's rough out here. Well, again, marijuana just is, if it's, let's just assume that it'll react in a positive way to you. It only exists to make a time more fun. It adds fun. It isn't in itself a thing that will motivate. There are other ways you might have to find motivation. And then the marijuana makes it more fun. Sometimes it makes it easier to enjoy things, I find. I mean, but I can, since I started this whole spiritual journey, I've been able to enjoy basically any movie I've been watching. Whereas, just a few years ago, I would have been so critical of movies. Like, I just thought that it made me look smarter. But nah. It's not fun to just be so critical of movies. And I know it's a little more complicated than just turning off your brain. But for me, I've been basically doing this training. And as a reward, I could just enjoy more movies. It's weird. It's confusing. It's okay, Sophia Coleman. No stress. Do you think that self-awareness comes from a certain amount of intelligence, or is it more of an abstract thing? I think it's definitely more of an abstract thing, that it already exists out there. And something like a brain, something like a human being who has eyeballs and ears and all of these things that sort of evolved alongside consciousness. I think these things filter it and make it into, vision and sight, sound, taste, whatever. So consciousness is this thing that exists beyond labels, so I can't really, and that's why I always, so this consciousness thing, this is just trying to suck in everything and appreciate it, and it gets filtered through this complicated human brain, and we're able to play around with it as much as we want. You know, you have people who end up creating their own realities through this experience. But there is no objective reality, and consciousness is very aware of that, you know? But we think over our consciousness, we think over everything, until everything is just loud in our heads, and we can't seem to experience what is happening inside of us and right in front of us. Thank you, Mark the Shark. How's your hand doing? Hope it's fully recovered. My hand? Oh, from the cat scratch? If that's what you're referring to, thank you. My hand's good. It's just some scars there. I'm high as fuck, I can't even type right now. I want to get to where that guy is, so excuse me. Just want to say you'll probably be able to hear it. Lift off! Hey guys. Here's my bag, by the way. I had these little paint markers. I decided to draw these funky little characters. Don't have a name for any of them, just picked up a pen and drew. It's fun. If you like drawing, you should just draw on your bags and stuff. I really like hearing your theories. I've subscribed to you after watching Confinement with Friends, Movie Trip, and Shrooms. Feels like it all ties together with this conversation happening right now. Absolutely. You know? What psychedelics teach you are these tiny little truths. And this is how people learned the earliest truths, is through psychedelics and weird plants. Because the plants slowed down their brain enough to show them how things actually worked. Because we're all high octane, constantly thinking and trying to get things just precise and right, the right wording in our head makes sense the most, that we forget that we're just playing a game, and that the gears of that game become more obvious when you're under certain effects, because you begin to forget what it was you were talking about, and the things that you're looking at start to fade, the way things are supposed to work begin to wobble and change, and then you sort of begin to get this idea that reality is maybe a little different from how you were raised to believe it. And chances are, if you're on drugs, this is a stereotype, but chances are if you're on drugs, you probably had very controlling parents, maybe, possibly. Maybe ones who told you how things are and this is just the way it is and don't question me, this is it, I'm right, you know. Ones who really tried to cement this attitude of cementing attitudes into you. And I didn't realize I had this, because my parents were quite controlling as well. I didn't realize I had this when I was a teenager and a young adult. I thought I was moderate and calm and considerate and kind and patient and whatever. And then I didn't realize that, oh, actually, I'm very controlling. Well, not so much anymore, but like I was very controlling, and it completely mirrored my parents, but I didn't want to think that. And so because I had this controlling nature and I didn't want to hurt anybody, all of it went inwards into me, and I ended up hating myself. And so I ended up in this trap of stubbornly hating myself in the same way my parents stubbornly hated all the weird shit that I did. Or rather, they stubbornly wanted me to be a certain kind of person, In that way, I stubbornly wanted me to be a certain kind of person, and therefore, when I couldn't achieve it, I was really depressed, I was anxious, I had a lot of suicidal ideation, and at a few points, I was genuinely suicidal. But then, my experience with psychedelics, a particularly intense one, broke that mold of stubbornness. You know, I just noticed how nice your nails look, by the way. Thank you. But that stubbornness, that squareness, you know, that stick up your ass, I'm right, you're wrong attitude. That was one that was completely shattered for me. And that's not to say that I'm not stubborn sometimes. Like I still am, but considerably a lot less. Not that it's a competition with myself, but I'm just trying to give you context of how powerful this experience was. So I let go of everything. You know, you'll hear a lot of spiritual people, like Buddhists, Hindus, say shit like "let go," just let it go, let go, let go. You know. You even use it in Doctor Strange, actually. But it's true. You know, we're holding on to all of the things that are causing us suffering. Suffering is just an idea, just like everything else. And it feels real, yes, because the pain, we usually associate it with the pain. Thank you, Spectrometon. What I'm trying to say is that you can experience a reality in which you can feel pain, but it won't suck. You know? It's a weird thought because we're so used to those things being together that, like, pain equals suffering. But suffering is something that can be caused without pain, as we all know. We can just, like, form expectations and then have them shattered, and then we have a big cry about it. You know, I still do that. And suffering is just an idea. You know, we can get hurt, and if we could somehow accept the pain that we're in right now, you will just acknowledge the pain without it being bad. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but I've achieved it to, like, you know, minor excess because I'm still quite early on my journey. I've been in states where I've been so calm and accepting of how much pain that I've been in. Let's say I had this really intense migraine due to my sinus issues. If I accept it, not to say that I enjoy it, but, like, I just accept that it's there, quite often I'll be in a state of mind in which I acknowledge the pain, but it doesn't suck. It doesn't hurt. But it does, but it doesn't. It's not a big deal that it hurts. Like right now, I have a headache, and it's not a big deal for me, because I've trained myself to tolerate the pain, because I decided to draw attention to it in a neutral way, rather than a way of like, oh, I wish it was gone. Because, you know, when I want my headache to go away, it hurts even more because it's doubled up with the suffering of it not going away like I want it to. But if I have a completely neutral approach and acknowledgement of the pain, it's no longer a problem. You know? It's interesting. And I, you know, like before my ego death moment, the funny epic moment of that changed my life, I wouldn't have been able to believe that. And I would not have never been able to achieve that because I've tried, you know, when I was in my teens and early adulthoods. I would try and then I wouldn't, and then I'd give up, and then I'd be like, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not providing immediate evidence. But now I'm in a state of mind and in a much better place in my life that I can do that. It's almost like I've unlocked a superpower. You know, obviously it's not that big a deal. It's just basically uh, becoming patient enough to tolerate more pain. But, you know, what I'm doing on a detailed level is that I'm systematically rewiring how I feel about things. And that includes physical pain, which is, yeah. It's not masochism. Are you a hot dog? Hot dog. Skull dude, I have your why does reality is cruelest? That is sending me right now, dude. Oh my god. Sometimes I just want somebody to look at me like monkey looks at dog. I fucking feel that. Headaches can also be a result of dehydration. Drink plenty of water. Thank you. That's true. And something that happened since I started my spiritual journey, of course, is that I've been drinking way more water than I've ever been. Because I'm aware now. I'm aware of my throat becoming dry, you know. I'm not quite as aware when I'm high, but like that's sort of something I'm prepared for. Like I set things up for that. Favorite part of philosophy: the death of ego and id. It's scary, you know. Like reading about it is scary to think about, but to fucking go there. And I'm not saying this like a brag, like it's like a cool thing. It's just that the thing that I did was so dangerous and scary that coming out of it, the reward was so equally overwhelming and beautiful that I was forever rewarded for that, I guess, for lack of a better word. But whenever I talk about my ego death, please basically just imagine me fucking, you know, nearly dying in some stupid way, in some ridiculous, stupid way. Just imagine that so you don't get envious of what I talk about when I mention my ego death. Oh, man. I want to be able to visualize what an ego death experience is like in confinement in episode 9, which is the episode after the one I'm currently doing. It's not a spoiler because you don't know who's experiencing it. It could just be a new character I made up for that episode, for all you know. But I want to be able to visualize it because the experience is a lot of fun. I mean, not a lot of fun. No, it's not a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to try and create into cartoon, into animation. That's what I meant. That's what I was trying to say. So, what is ego death? Yeah, I'll try to explain. Oh, sorry, there were a few cool things I want to read up here. Didn't have controlling parents. I've become emancipated from my mom when I was 15, but I get what you mean. Shrooms really helped me when it came to trauma. They helped me accept that pain. Yeah, there you go. That's why psilocybin has just become legal in Colorado. But leading up to that, it was very much advocated for PTSD medicine and therapy. Because psychedelics basically smooth out the perspective of your brain. If you are thinking about the thing that traumatized you when you're on psychedelics, then you might experience it again in a very intense way, even more intense than if you were sober. And that experience can be mind-shattering, and you can end up in a schizophrenic diagnosis and a psych ward, which makes the schizophrenia worse because you're even more paranoid now because you've been taken to a psych ward. Or it could go the other way, and thankfully I ended up going the other way. And I had, on the way down into that deep, scary pit where I was forgetting everything, where I was forgetting my name, I was forgetting what my face looked like, I was like desperately trying to reconstruct, like, that's what I look like, no, that's not right, and I was trying to contextualize where I was. I knew, like, I sort of knew I was sitting on a chair, but it didn't, it was like I was falling asleep, but I didn't want to. But there was only one direction, and it was going down. And so I, at some point, had to accept what was happening to me. So, in other words, even though I wasn't actually dying, I was pushed to a place in which I could only believe I was dying. And accept that I was dying, essentially. Like, I had to believe, I believed I was dying, and I had to accept that I was dying. So I thought I was literally dying. And then the second I accepted this death, which it's called an ego death because your personality and your identity and your value reset. They die. So as far as us materialists are concerned about what humans are, your ego is all of that. So, your personality, what you associate with yourself, how you value yourself, all of these things that you put onto your identity and how you present yourself and how you exert yourself into the universe, all that shit, how you do it, that's your ego. And I had mine killed through that experience. And I accepted it and I calmed down, and then I ended up in this place of euphoria where I was outside of time and space, for lack of a better word. And I'm being dramatic, but that's how it felt. And that's the key word here. I can't really explain what literally happened. It's intensely how it felt. That's it, and that's all that was there. After all of the categories and my ability to think disappeared, all that was there was this amazing shining void. It was like a bright light, and it was like everything had a bright light coming out of it, in a feelings way rather than a literal way. Like, I look at my friend's face and I can't even it's not, my mind isn't registering it as a face. My mind is just my mind was just that. It was this pure single thread of consciousness. There was no thinking. There was no thinking behind thinking. There was no subconscious thinking. There was no sound that I was making. There was nothing coming from me. I was just experiencing, a really good fucking high, for one. but what it destroyed, it literally shattered this world that I thought that I had to keep living in, and it completely wiped that, this shitty armor that I've been accumulating out of dirt and mud and muck throughout my journey, creating this big shitty armor of dried up shit, and then this ego death destroyed it, and I was so happy. And then it inspired me to to go into it, to look into it, to chat to those people who talked about this, but I didn't get it at the time, and to re-listen to all of these people and watch all these movies that I didn't understand at the time but now do. And not that there's like one understanding of all content out there. It's just that I get to now appreciate it on this level, in which I could just enjoy it firstly, but also understand that everything can be significant if you want it to. Everything can be significant. Anything, literally any little thing. if you really wanted to, you can make it significant in your mind. And that makes life worth it, you know? So often we're just like looking for something, we're waiting for something different to happen that will make us step outside of our boring routines, you know? Like we're waiting for like, oh, that girl to talk to me, or what if I went to this party and whatever, you know, there's all of these like singular events. You can just choose to, you know, look at a fucking tree and have this amazing experience of just hanging out with a tree and looking at it. You know? That's what I do. I don't know. That's what the experience taught me. And some people have this experience for a very short period of time, and they forget about it because it's not something that you can easily remember, because basically what I'm trying to do is I don't really have any more thoughts. I mean, I do have thoughts. What I'm trying to do is clear them out slowly over time. You listen to Terrence McKenna? Yes, I do. I love Mr. Terrence McKenna. I just realized I was 15 minutes behind. Was wondering why I couldn't find any of the comments he was replying to. Fucking rip. Oh no. Hey, Bone, I'm gonna be honest. I'm totally jealous of how knowledgeable you are on this stuff. I love hearing about this stuff. I love talking about the story that comes from it, so thanks for that. That's really sweet. I don't think it's super important to be knowledgeable, though. Like, the things that the psychedelics taught me... Hey, happy Crimbus Eve, Eli. Thank you. Thank you for the hair compliment. What the psychedelics taught me, they taught me without knowledge at all. In fact, they taught me with the exact opposite of knowledge. Just this void, this nothingness, you know? And what I learned from that experience is then flowered out, and I ended up finding all of these things that completely resonate with how I feel about it, and how I feel about all of reality and our purpose in life and all that, you know, all the important shit. You know, so I found all these people and all of these philosophies and all these spiritualities, and I get to hear people's journeys about their experience that I share now, you know? And it's beginning to reach a point where I'm slowly beginning to understand that everybody's experience will eventually lead to that thing that I experienced, except we call it death. Everybody one day is going to reach and experience what I experienced. The only difference is that I got out of it okay, and I'm walking around, and now I'm an annoying crazy person, essentially. I'm not diagnosed as a crazy person because I haven't done anything nasty that would, you know, maybe get me arrested. But I mean, I'm talking about things that culturally seems crazy. Happy Christmas, or other such festivities. What is your favorite thing about this time of year? Thank you, Jared, for the £5. I don't know. There's a really good vibe around it. I think it's just because my childhood seemed to be like the positive memories was kind of concentrated into Christmas, as far as I could think of, or at least, well, it's not that only good things happen on Christmas. It's just that I associated the time and place of these good things with the fact that there's a special day for it called Christmas. But what I like about it this year is that I also got to celebrate some other holidays that I decided to participate in. Through my, like after my experience, like I was talking about earlier, it opened up this so many paths to choose from, and some of those paths were paganism, because paganism was pre-imperial, pre-industrial, well, definitely pre-industrial, but like like being an empire and trying to control people and trying to set a societal standard for how to think kind of vibe, you know. So you had these people who, before they had half the categories that we use on a daily basis, they lived with nature, they responded to nature and respected it, and they were just as much in control of themselves as they were being controlled by nature. And so they lived in a much truer, more harmonious, less strict world than we could even imagine today. Hey Bung, do you think there's a way to control jealousy? I've come to realize I'm constantly jealous of others. Their voice, their art skill, creative talent, even motivation. Help, thanks. Well, I'm not your therapist, so I can't tell you what works for you. You'll have to figure out that for yourself, or if your therapist works very closely with you, if you have one. Jealousy is a fun one. But jealousy always implies that there's something about you that is lacking, that you need to change in some way to be happy. But that's never been true. That's almost never true. It's just a feeling, it's a feeling that comes up, just like anger or sadness or whatever. It's okay to feel them, but you don't have to associate them with meaning. Meaning is completely in your control, and if you're in the habit of making it that I need that, and I'll be happy if I have that, or if I was that, or if I was more like that, then that's just a habit that you're in, just like any other habit or addiction or whatever. And so every time you feel that sensation of jealousy, and jealousy, the thoughts of jealousy come in, you don't have to take them seriously. You can acknowledge them, say like, okay, well that's a thought, but here's another one. Fucking rhinos wearing roller skates. They're both equally valid thoughts for this moment in time. It doesn't matter. It's obviously easier said than done. But when feelings come up and thoughts come up, the only thing you really need to do is acknowledge that they're there. You don't have to apply meaning to them. You don't have to go, oh shit, what does this mean? You don't have to argue with it. You don't have to fight with it. You don't have to ignore it. You don't have to push it away or deny it. You just have to acknowledge that this feeling is here. That is a feeling. That is a thought. It's only when we assign meaning to it do we create the suffering. Because we set these expectations for ourselves and then we suffer when they don't happen, or we beat ourselves up and then we just suffer, but at least I'm right. Yeah, like when you beat yourself up, we're doing it not for any other reason aside from I am at least in control of this, because we like being in control. And if we can tell ourselves like, well, I'm shitty, I'm a piece of shit, it's because you want to be able to say it before anyone else says it, and you want to be in control of that. And at least, even if I'm shitty, at least I'm right about this. At least I'm right about me being shitty, which is a fun paradox, because for example, if you think you're stupid, then why does your opinion matter? You know what I mean? Because like if you're stupid, then how could you judge yourself as being stupid? Anyway. Merry Christmas for y'all. If you don't celebrate it, have a nice day. Hey, good night. O_O. Live stream Christmas is nice because it seems like at least one day a year everyone's just a little nicer to each other. Yeah, I get that. It's like people need an excuse to be nicer in a world in which we're so stressed out for the rest of the year. It's like the designated day to be to be, for some people at least, to be relaxed and chill, which is it's almost like the purge. You think about it, just like a purge where everyone gets to chill the fuck out. Yeah, for real. Used to get presents on this day, now I get undies and socks. And you would not believe how hyped I am for socks now. Amen. They become presents. They're still presents. Because you get to use them now. Okay. Alright, Skull Dude. Good night. Thanks for writing in all caps so I would notice. Really doesn't feel like Christmas. I'm sorry it feels that way for you. Hasn't really been very festive. Yeah, I could definitely see that just because of, you know, don't have to say it. I slept in 2 days. Really enjoyed that. Hopefully I can tune in next time as well, but not swallow an ice cube. Never want to do that again, ever. Oh, man. Good night, Grayson. So sorry that you had to deal with that ice cube. Oh, man, Jared. That fucking sucks. Guys wearing roller skates. How will they stop, Bong? How will they stop? With their horn. Just sludges into the ground. I struggle with jealousy and feelings of inadequacy about my artistic skill or achievement. Oof. Well, if we really did truly understand that to get better, to get to where you want to be, means that you also have to be at some point where you don't want to be. You have to reach that point. If we truly got that, then we would never complain, because we would understand that where we are right now is where we're meant to be. You know, I'm a little bit closer today. Oh, I fell back a bit. That's fine. That happens. And then I'm a little bit closer, you know, to my goal. If we truly understood that, then we would be patient and we would never feel inadequate, because we knew that where we are right now is just where we're meant to be. And it's evident by the fact that it's happened, you know? When you're living in the present moment, you can't live perfectly in the center of that. Like, you can't live perfectly presently. Your brain only acknowledges what happens like a point something milliseconds after the motion actually happened. So when I make a decision, my brain will try and make a narrative and say that, well, I did that. In reality, I'm justifying why I did that. It's just that I've done it so often that I am in control of it, so it's not freaky. I feel like I'm in control of it, so it's not freaky. You know? Whereas when something new happens to my body, it's a big worry, you know? Can't be jealous when the only thing I could think about is Ellen DeGeneres' dark silhouette staring at me through the window. Jeez. Whoa, hey, Celestial. Thank you for the $50. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, enjoy the rest of your night, and thanks for a great year of content. See you next year. P.S. Use this to get great socks. Thank you. Thank you so much, Celestial. I appreciate the hell out of that. Gotta get ready for my long bike ride to work. As always, though, it's been such a pleasure to sit and listen and chat with you guys. I hope you guys have a good day. Still no regrets for not sleeping. Oh, yeah. Bless you, Frosted Scales. I honor the God in you. What ideas do you have after Connor's story ends? Probably season 2 of Confinement, but I have a couple of ideas in the back of my mind. I'm just not sure how logistically I could do it. That's the curse of being creative, is that it's so inconvenient. You know. Are you sick? Sort of. My nose gets blocked more, but it has to do with something less snotty. I'm gonna read Dune and sleep my back pain away. Big hugs your way, Danny. Big hugs right back at you. Dune, I need to finish that. And You go read Dune. Some good shit. Some good psychedelic shit. When is episode 8 happening? You're just gonna have to be patient. Because I don't know. I'm not as in control of it as it feels like, you know? But that's how I do it. That's just how I've done it my whole life. When I was in denial of it, it sucked. Because I would always say, well, I could have worked just a little bit more every night. And then I would just go to bed sad. Could you imagine that? But now that I've accepted that I don't know and that I can still realistically work like 3 to 4 hours a day, and I do, you know, aside from my 2 days off, I still get the work done and without the guilt. I can choose to just do exactly what I'm doing right now, but without feeling like shit. And therefore, actually working more as a result. But, I accepted that, you know? But it took me a while, so I understand why people who are total strangers can't accept that. They're not even near what I've experienced. It's fine. Can't get angry at people who don't understand why it takes so long. Good ecological shit too. Really tropical right now. Yeah, man. You should absolutely do a D&D series, like a podcast or something. I feel like that'd be right up your alley, to be honest. What a vibe you've just created in me. Oh, man. Yes. I actually, just got back into... I just, like, got into a D&D game for the first time in so long because it was just so, like, out of the blue, like, hey, one shot, here's a sheet, do something silly. And I really wanted to hang out with with new people who were, like, nerdy. Because, at that point in my life, things were just getting a bit boring. And so, yeah, I made a little turtle, a D&D character. He was a turtle. I made him this like druid hippie that was just traveling through the jungles and the forests of this continent. It was really fun. Yeah, he was like a supporting healing type. I thought that's always, you know, not everybody's doing that, so somebody has to, you know. The first content I saw from Bung was this Shark Tale trailer with the Johnny Cash's hat on Twitter. Fucking no! Oh, I love that, though. I'd love to watch it on stream, but the music would just, you know, it would get copyrighted, so... And the music is half of it. Imagine if monkeys were fluffy instead of hairy. It's a good thought. Some of them are. Quit being lazy and make some containment. See, I can't tell if you're joking or if you're being a dick, because it's like, it's so inappropriate that it could be a joke, but it also could just be unironically an inappropriate, mean thing to say. I mean, both valid. You're allowed to feel that way, I guess. You know, I'm not being lazy, though. That is a lie. I mean, that's a misjudgment of my character. If you want sneak peeks, you can become a patron, and I upload all of the PNGs onto a Google Drive at full resolution. You get to keep them. But oops, that has a lot of spoilers in it. And if you don't mind spoilers, then cool, but just a warning. Will there be a Vibemas stream? Probably not. I think I'd be going to dinner with my parents at around this time. How'd you manage to even find the D&D game? Bung, I spent 3 months trying to find a game, and I found one which fell apart instantly. Also a druid hippie who's a turtle. Master Uguay. Oh, shit. I was thinking about that. He kind of does look like him with the way his shell is. 1 second. What was I saying? Find a D&D game? I don't know, like, just... Like, when I try to meet new people, I get a certain vibe off of them. Like, hey, you probably do D&D, you know? Like, if you're into this other nerdy shit, there's a chance that you're into D&D. Speaking as a far realm Asimir, you're very entertaining. Bless you. Could be in containment and do some lazy. Oh, you're making confinement episode 8. I was studying the blade. Lol, hahaha, funny wee bam reference. Woohoo. More like, try not being such a great animator. Thank you. Then go have dinner. No, it's tomorrow. I was talking about Christmas. Listen, pay attention. Confinement's lame. Let's talk about Monkey. Let's do that. You know, I think my friend actually had just like adopted an orangutan in my name, and so I'm getting sent a big plush. I think that's what happened. I don't know. Something orangutan charity, and now I'm getting a big plush for Christmas of an orangutan, which I'm very excited about. Vibes are a good thing to do with the fact that you have a great relationship with your family. My relationship with my family definitely increased when I was like, increased in positivity as I began to enjoy the vibes, you know? And at worst, it's just neutral, you know, like they're just there. I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. At worst. But, you know, it's usually somewhere in between. Go to bed right now or Santa can't come. It's only 10. I'll leave in 20 minutes or so. Yeah, make it 20 minutes. I sort of time it with the music so that I can tell when to stop. Uh-oh. It's frozen. Ah, there we go. Will we see the swordsman from episode 5 shirtless asking for a friend? Oh no. Just realized Christmas is on Funky Monkey Friday. The universe listened to how fucking goddamn memes. Adopt an orangutan? Is this possible? I've been lied to my whole life. It's like just sort of like an in your name thing, I think. Alright, see, I can't pronounce your name because I cannot read the Cyrillic alphabet. Recently had a binge of all the containments, and it's sweet seeing your animation evolve and become more ambitious. Thank you. I'm doing it a lot more on this episode as well. Completely revamping. Damn, you still streaming? Yeah, I'll just go for 20 minutes or something. Any tips on getting to sleep? I tried for like an hour tonight, but just can't sleep. Well, the obvious ones like turning off your computer and stuff, or your TV, because that really tantalizes your eyes. But you can also in a relaxed way, exert your energy through very simple exercise or stretches. That loosens up your body and makes you feel more relaxed. There's also, you can meditate, try and clear your mind, but effortlessly. So don't just try, but try not try, as they say as Bob Odenkirk says in Undone. Is it possible for a furry to have a human persona? It's true. It's true. Like, anybody who's ever been anxious enough that they feel like they aren't in control of their mind can attest to the fact that you can create characters in your head that end up doing and saying things that you didn't want them to do and say. And they end up creating a consciousness of their own because of things that you felt were out of your control. Because you just went in harmony with, I don't know, your traumas or your emotions or your anxiety, you know. And so we create characters all the time that end up creating a life of their own, so I don't see why they wouldn't be able to also have their own little imaginations going on, you know, in a kind of like infinitely ingressing, you constantly zoom in and it just keeps going and going kind of deal. Sure, why not? I mean, from their perspective, they're just as powerful as us. It's just that from our perspective, they're not. And so we zoom into them. Let's say, if I was just an imagination, like somebody's story, I wouldn't be able to tell. There's nothing I would ever be able to do in my life to find that out. And that really sets the stepping stones for reality. It's just that an imagination of me, like I could imagine me right now. Well, make it simple. I'm just going to imagine somebody, you know, just like it's kind of like a Ghibli character in my head right now. That thing, in their perspective, they think they're just as real as I think I am just as real. And so in their short experience that I brought into this universe, they've lived an entire life. And their mind has been rationalized to see that life as the longest life that they could possibly imagine. In the same way I think that 100 years is super, super long because of my context to other humans, whether they're imagined or not. So from the perspective of, you know, it's like a mayfly, how they live for 2 days, but that must feel like an eternity because that's their entire consciousness being lit up in this complex system called form and material form. And they fly around, do their thing for 2 days, and it feels like they've been out here for a lifetime because that is their lifetime. You zoom, I feel like that's probably the same with imagined beings, you know? And just because they're not as physical as us doesn't mean that they're softer than us. In fact, they're made of a more pure energy than the material world. The material world is just hard stuff. It's just levels of hardness. That, like, levels of how solid something is. That's all the material world is varying degrees of how solid can reality be. But there are all these other aspects of reality that we don't care about because we can't physically touch it. And therefore it's not valid. But we experience it through our brains, into our consciousness. You know, feelings, vibes, auras, premonitions, epiphanies, romantic love, spiritual uh, sensations, enlightenment, meditation, all of these things. All of these things are things that are also real because we could label them, but we can't physically prove them, and yet we sort of accept most of these things to be true. What are we doing here in this stream? Honest question, no offense, mate. We were just talking. I see why not. Vibe check. Matter is just energy with a repulsive force field. Funny, right? That's a great way of saying it, actually. Matter is just energy with a repulsive force field, which is great because, you know, it lets you know about, well, it implies that everything is just energy anyway. And everything is just energy, it's just that we take the measurement of that energy too literally because of our experience with solid matter. So, people who have to deal with solid matter end up identifying with it so much that they think that everything in reality can be navigated by treating it as if it was solid matter that you can either destroy and shape or use as a support, or whatever. How can it serve me in my physical needs? But so much of reality sits outside of that. Sits outside of solid matter. It's because solid matter punishes us that we are afraid of it, and then we take it super seriously and think this is all there is. This is the God. This is our God now. It's this big thing that hurts me called rocks. You know, like this is the only thing that matters. No, shut the fuck up. It's way more. Way more than that. I forgot what I was talking about earlier. Anyone else getting a glass out for this good talk? Rip that shit. Vibes are the best way to make it. It is time consuming, and seek out your best way to make sure you are the best and most important things to you. Absolutely. Have you ever thought of streaming on Twitch on the just chatting category? I can't remember if I have logged into Twitch. If I'm logged in there. I like going on here just because, like, it seems like there are more people here who want to talk, and therefore more interesting conversations happen. I'll be right back. I need to go to the bathroom real quick. So, and so the brain is this, it's a complicated enough organism that it is able to understand and identify and separate these various types of energies, you know. So we talk about like energies that create the physical world, you know, solids, liquids, gases, all of these things that we use measurements to separate them and call atoms and molecules, and we represent them with these perfect spheres. Obviously, they're not. The universe isn't made up of a bunch of spheres. It's a constantly fluid, fluctuating energy, you know, that changes form and characteristics, for lack of a better word right now. Oh, get the music in my ears. I'm back from the cornfield. I'm no longer confined. Thank you, Milk Son, for the $20. Someone was talking about alchemy real quick. Hold on. Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value must be lost. This is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange. Yeah, and that ends up going into modern physics. Theoretical physics. About the laws of the universe, you know, like nothing can be created or destroyed, you know, out of nothing. It just transforms. And so with that understanding, everything, I forgot what I was talking about actually. That's the one thing that sucks with weed, but you know, you can't have the fun without that. If we're able to send in clips, I'd be sending in some anime themes played on the piano right about now, not gonna lie. Hell yeah. Light up with me, dude. Yeah, alright. I didn't finish the first one, so I'll do that now. It wasn't a door, don't worry. Yeah, but I really liked what this chat and I have just sort of come to some good points about how about the universe and how there is now just like this cult that make up the vast majority of people in the developed West that believes there is only, not the vast majority, but like a hugely growing amount of people who only believe that the physical world matters, and then some of them even do believe in another world, but then they believe that, but they live out their life as if only the physical world matters. But that just comes from this deep, intense, instinctual fear of eventually running out of time in the form of dying, of course. And so when you are trying to find things to spend your day with, you know, because you just don't want to sit in silence with yourself, that comes from an unconscious fear of dying. And why would you want to keep doing things that remind you that your time is up? So what I'm trying to say is that I think it's a good, healthy thing to spend some time in your day just not doing anything. You know? Just chilling out, just sitting there and being with yourself, accepting whatever thoughts pop up in your head, whatever feelings arise as a neutral thing that is just happening in reality, like birds flying over you, or, you know, like you just hear your neighbor's cars drive by. It's just a thing that's there. You know? Well, yes, it is in fact equivalent exchange. Quantum stuff is like new science. There have been some discoveries about the quantum science, but it doesn't mean all heisei is true, you know? I don't know what the heisei is in this context. Don't forget to bring a towel. This has been chill. Hell yeah. I think maybe I might even stream a bit longer, depending on how I feel. I'll let you know. I'll try and pay attention to how my throat feels. POV, you joined late. Oh no. Bung is always quick insult. Bung is away, quick insult me. Bung is noob at every... Hello, I hope you have a good sleep today, Bung. Oh, yeah, I didn't have a sleep today yet. Going to sleep later. I'm sorry, Naraxi, you're gonna have to be patient. I've never done drugs. I have a will of diamond. Yeah, I mean, if your intentions are that, and then there you go. If you don't want to do drugs, don't do them. Yeah, I do like Xavier Renegade Angel. It's much more of a comedy, though, I think, but maybe I could rewatch it and actually find something more profound in there. Isn't everything the physical world? Emotions, attachments, ideas, matter, energy, beauty, time, isn't it? No, the physical world is the things that you can physically feel using well, your nerves. Something interesting about the human brain is that um, these other sensations can interact with the physical world. It becomes a bit nuanced. Thoughts interact with the physical world. It doesn't mean that they are the physical world. It means that they're both part of the same universe. Everything's all part of the same singular thing. But your emotions are not the same as like bricks. They can still interact. A human, they can still interact with humans and the physical world. Therefore, the physical world. But they are still separate things. And all those other things. Like, the human brain is interesting in that it is complex enough to be able to experience not just the physical world, primarily the physical world because the brain is physical, but it's complex enough that it can experience all of these other sensations that don't have a physical form, like emotions and thoughts and creativity, true sense of unity and love and oneness with the universe, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. And all of these nuanced little sensations in between. And all of these things that we call mental illnesses, These seemingly paradoxical things, these things that exist outside of the physical form that leave an imprint on the physical world in the form of these senses that we can't explain, I'm not afraid of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens. It's a good quote. You need that sleep since tomorrow was a pretty big day. Mine starts late, so don't really need that sleep. But yeah, I think maybe I'll be ending it soon. What's tomorrow? Oh. It's Christmas tomorrow. You're kind of knocking on the door of the hard question of consciousness right now. Yeah, but I just like revisiting that place. And talking about it isn't the most profound way to reach that place. I know how to reach it in other ways. Or at least not totally, but much closer than just talking about it. I just like talking about it. It's fun. And my hope is that other people, that maybe I would play a part in somebody's journey to also find that. Not that I would inspire them to change their life completely and just go in that direction. But even if it's just a little nudge, just what this guy said really resonates with me. Maybe I'll blah blah blah. I'll keep looking up into whatever. It's it's something that makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger. Obviously my content also does that, but equally so does this. This statement is false. Yeah, and I love that oscillating paradoxical sentence. It's a great one because it Well, it shows the one of the many flaws of language. That kind of pulls the curtain back a little bit and helps you realize that, oh, language. I've been identifying with language so much that I forgot that reality is way more nuanced than what language can provide. Lemon and honey, it will help your sore throat. Yeah, I need to get that. Merry Christmas, Nikki. Perception and experience is everything. How we understand and perceive things. Isn't it a accumulation? What types of experiences we all go through which affects our learning, perception, and outlook? Hey, Nikki, thank you for the $2.22. Merry Christmas, Mr. Bung. May you have a fabulous day. Thank you. May you have a fabulous one, too. There are 6 the pronunciations in German. Yeah, so somebody thought of something quite, for whatever reason, in the Germanic language, that would have been felt necessary. But any language could have any amount of symbols to represent things in the universe, and they would still fall short of accurately portraying reality. They could just point to it, you know? It's like in Taoism, they say something like, we point to the moon, so stop looking at the finger, you know? We identify with the finger too much. It's like, no, it's just pointing towards it. That's what language is. We're just trying to get as close to the truth as possible. And it's limited by language, but you're not meant to take the language itself seriously. You're meant to try and get the idea, the message, the state of being that it creates. I feel high just watching this stream. That's called a contact high, my friend. Love you, boy. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Love you too, Isk. I had a teacher with the same mindset as yours a long time ago. An amazing man he was, and he did help me, just like you're trying to do for people right now. Oh, that's beautiful. Bung, I gotta go in like 5 minutes. Hope your D&D games and existentialism go well in the meantime. It's been a delight. Thanks for answering the questions and whatnot, my dude. Hey, no problem, not an alien. Hope you have a lovely day. Please take care of yourself and check your vibe every now and then. I find these streams excellent background noise while I play games. Hell yeah. Vibe ocean. Alright, I'm gonna head off now. My throat is still hurting, so I'm gonna have to go check that out. Maybe go to the doctors on Christmas Day. But hey, everybody, you know, just take care of yourselves. Try and notice more what's going around you. You know, be aware, listen, look, and just experience this very unique thing called human life. Hare Krishna, and Merry Christmas.